welcome to another episode of the SD4L Show. I'm Justin Thind. I'm here with my co-host, Matt Sheehan. Matt, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday night?
Doing okay. It's not just me and you on this call, though. I have like the world's smallest fly fluttering around this little closet of a studio I've made. So like I consider this to be like playing in front of the is zone. The is zone is like jumping on you, trying to distract you, and just trying to get on your nerves like a bunch of gnats. I got one potential gnat in here, and like this guy is just terrorizing me. He has me by the what right now. So hopefully my attention is up to snuff. We'll see though.
Michael Jordan had the flu game. You have had the fly game.
I have the single thing flying around game. Yeah. So my attention span, this could go anywhere today. But JT, before I forget to ask, bro, how you doing, man? We doing okay on your neck of the woods? How many flies you got flying around your room, or do you live in a clean house?
None right now. There were a couple of mosquitoes yesterday. Okay. We'll hope that those are gone. I don't know the lifespan of a mosquito. That is interesting. Now that you bring it up, never have I had to deal with mosquitoes 2 or 3 nights in a row. And
okay,
so like, what do they like? Just relocate to a different part of the house and just don't happen to see them the next night? Or they die in 24 hours.
They flew into your ears or into your nostrils.
That too.
Yeah. Go ahead and sleep on that one tonight. You like that one?
Yeah. This is something I'll be researching after the show.
Okay. Or if you guys are a mosquito expert for some reason, comment below. Is there a mosquito emoji? Let's just have people comment that right off the bat. Let's. There's
got to be some sort of fly emoji at the very least.
Okay. Sure. Anything that flies, comment that below.
Yeah. Just if you got nothing, then just an eagle. An eagle will do.
Okay. Yeah, that works as well. Hey, speaking of flying, JT, Jonathan Smith, Demetrius Martin, Blue Adams, are they trying to reestablish the no-fly zone here with the latest transfer portal pickups? And before answering that on a scale of 1 to 10, how was that transition into the show? Was that like...
I hated the transition, Matt, because what had happened was right when you said, speaking of flying, I thought we were going to revisit my travesty last week on the way
that was tough. Yeah. That was tough. If you missed that debacle, go ahead, scroll to the end of last week's show. That's tough. And it's good to see you not in the local news for like sending any anthrax to any Spirit employees. So good on you. That's some restraint right there, JT. Nice work.
No, the PTSD aside there, good transition, and yeah, definitely the biggest talking point from the last couple weeks of this offseason for Michigan State is the addition of defensive backs, not just the two that we're going to talk about, but even before that, legend Cavazos. So like they've got quite a few guys in Edwards before that too, but now they've got quite a few guys that are in that 2 deep that you feel good about. And like I said, Edwards, he was one of the best players in the Pac-12 last year. He was Arizona State's highest returning graded player. And then legend Cavazos, he was supposed to be, he was on par to be a starter at UNC before he entered the portal. Obviously, we don't know if that's what would have happened in the fall, but guys that you would think are firmly in the 2 deep, I think legend can play some nickel. Edwards would be outside corner. And now you've added a contender to play corner on the other side of Woods, and that is Jeremiah Hughes. He is an LSU rising true sophomore. He played, I believe, 10 or 12 games at LSU as a true freshman.
I think it was every one. I think it was all 13.
Okay, yeah. So then 10 was Marcellus Polium from Miami, the linebacker, he played 10 games in Miami as a true freshman. So yeah, another guy here that played a ton of games, every single game from a special teams perspective, and then also had a handful of defensive snaps. But to me, the fact that they didn't think they had to redshirt him tells you his body was physically ready to play at this level, and they didn't want to just unnecessarily redshirt him. And the other thing was the fact that they probably don't think he would have stayed in college for 5 whole years anyway. So that's kind of 2 ways to look at it without knowing too much about the ins and outs of how he looked at practice on a daily basis and why they didn't redshirt him to begin with. But I think that's a very, very promising pickup just because of the pedigree and also because of the fact that he has 3 years of eligibility. So I don't know how much necessarily he would aid the win total this year, but that shows their philosophy. It's long thinking. It's not just them trying to go ahead and get maybe a C+ or B- corner in terms of 2024 production, where maybe Hughes's 2024 production is a C, but in 2026 he could be an A-. So that's kind of how they're building this roster. So We've talked about that in depth in the past couple weeks as well, but just really like the way that they're going about and doing this. Matt, I will let you start first to talk about the other defensive back pickup in Nikai Martinez.
Yeah, anytime you can get a guy that started every single game as a true sophomore somewhere, yeah, you're going to go ahead and do that, right? Now, the fact that it's at another Power Four school like Central Florida, that is more than welcome, especially with the departure of Bridgeman-Mangum. And what this guy brings over, Mr. Martinez brings over from Orlando, is that he can play everywhere on defense, it seems like, right? Like he played box safety, free safety, nickel. He played even a little bit of wide corner. I mean, JT, like this guy can truly do it all everywhere on the defense. And that makes it like an interesting discussion of like, well, snap, like, is he going to get a starting safety role? Is he going to be a starter at nickel? Is he going to be a corner and allow someone else to slide to that spot? Does this mean Malik Spencer plays nickel? Like I'm starting to get dizzy just like trying to sort out, okay, is he just like a depth piece, but like maybe he's not. So that's a long way of saying that this is a good problem to have, is that, hey, well, you're getting a starter. You're getting starters, plural, that are versatile out of the spring portal window for a secondary that needed some help desperately from the last few seasons. Like,
no doubt at all.
Have an honest conversation right there. But yeah, I do truly wonder where Nikai Martinez slots in immediately, because Spencer and Tatum are your safeties, or are they? Like, I don't know. I just don't know.
Definitely. The way that I look at it is I would say Tatum is pretty much a lock to be safe, to be a safety.
Gotcha.
And then in spring camp, Malik Spencer was playing nickel while Bridgeman-Mangum was the other deep safety. So now with the pickup of Martinez, who I definitely think would start for sure, you would have to say, all right, are we putting him at probably free safety and Tatum would play strong safety? Or do we put him at nickel and then do we move Spencer back to safety?
Right.
But those three spots, the two safety spots and the nickel spot, I would be surprised if it was anybody other than those three in some sort of configuration. And then probably Legend Cavazos would be the nickel, the primary backup at nickel. And maybe Angelo Gross is then your third choice there, who he was pretty much starting the last several years, and suddenly he's the third best nickel. So we'll see exactly, I guess, how that shakes out. Maybe Legend just moves to the outside and Gross is the second option at nickel. I guess those semantics don't really matter, but the way that you can kind of see right away is, and then also like the fact that Chance Rucker, who started the tail end of last year, he might be behind a Jeremiah Hughes, or maybe Hughes is the first outside corner backup. But like you're seeing the concept of how many two deep guys they have at their disposal here at DB, many of who are not here last year. And Charles Brantley's a name we haven't said. And Demetrius Martin, right when he got here, he wanted to upgrade the room as a whole, big time. And he was able to create some room in order to do that by some guys departing. And he was pretty much okay with having to flip it completely on its head and get all new corners in here. And anyone that wanted to stay, they were welcome to. But he was not going to be, I guess, being conservative with not bringing in competition because he was worried about scaring anyone off or anything like that. So I think he accomplished his mission of just going all out to get whoever he can to come in, and whoever felt bad about it either could have left or stayed and competed. And I would say their two best corners from last year, Rucker and Brantley, seems like they've stayed to compete. So I think corner as a whole, as well as you could have executed at this offseason.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, I had no doubts that they were going to get corners this portal cycle. I just thought they'd be depth pieces, just like you talked about, like guys that would be like, okay, yeah, for 1 year, they'll be like a C- prospect. Like it's a guy that lost a starting job somewhere. They'll just come here just because it's more bodies behind Rucker and Brantley. Like, no. Like they ripped a starter away from Arizona State. They ripped a potential starter, at worst, a rotational player from North Carolina in Cavazos. Nikai Martinez, clearly a starter, can play all sorts of positions. So it has just been a bang up job by everyone involved here. Whether it's Smith, Rossi, Martin, Adams, really strong in the secondary here. So yeah, look at Jonathan Smith go, man, just flexing that GM acumen right there.
They've upgraded pretty significantly at defensive back. They've upgraded at linebacker just because they didn't lose anyone, and then they added Wayne Matthews II from Old Dominion. He's probably their best coverage linebacker the day he steps in. Defensive end, I guess they lost Jacoby Windman to the draft, but they added Quindarius Dunnigan, and they have added a ton of stand-up edge rushers and Anthony Jones and Tyler Gillison, and Pulliam could play there if you need him to, and Samaj Bridgman could play there, probably more so than Pulliam, and we'll talk about him too. But they've just upgraded all over the place, except probably defensive tackle, where Derek Harmon was a big loss, but they got a lot of bodies, long-term eligibility there. Maybe they'll add another, but at the end of the day, like this portal window went as well as you probably could have hoped. Offensive tackle is still a big concern, and they're obviously still looking there. But I guess before we dive into the topic of the Michigan trade, we'll just put a bow on like this big picture discussion here. There's 4 scholarships by my math, Matt, that Michigan State has here. And people can see that if they either go to the pinned thread of the scholarship list on our site, or if you go to my Twitter profile, and I think you can just search the word bookmark, because I believe I said in the tweet you want to bookmark this. But anyway, four spots is what I have them at. Could be give or take one. But what would you do with 4 spots, Matt, if you were Cole Moore, the Michigan State Director of Player Personnel and GM?
Probably do offensive line. And then I do offensive line. I'd probably do offensive line. And then I'd kick the tires on a few receivers, see who's still out there for that. But no, like, not to be boring and just put all my emphasis on one position right now, but that's, I mean, obviously kind of where I'm at right now. And it goes with what we were saying kind of with the cornerbacks. Like, hey, a few weeks ago, yeah, you're feeling okay about the starters, right? Like those are names that we know that is some experience. Like right now, I feel fine about the starting offensive line. That's not football, though. Like football doesn't let you play with the same 5 guys the entire season. I mean, yeah, sure, you do have some depth pieces, guys that we, of course, know. But, man, if you can get someone that has a little more experience, I would not say no to that. So is it going to be a surprise? Like, are they going to get guys that are going to jump others and start over? Probably not. Not at this point. But
right,
you can still get strong second guys, and that's a room that needs them. So is that just the coldest take? Is that just plainly obvious that it is offensive line where they should go next? Or where are you thinking, JT?
Yeah, I would say I don't see them taking multiple offensive linemen just because they pretty much can't find anyone that they even like. And
that's a problem. Yeah.
They're gonna end up taking somebody just because they simply want to take an offensive lineman.
Gotcha.
But I don't think it's going to be somebody that they're very happy that they landed or necessarily something along those lines. They had chances to land a couple guys that one was a D2 kid that went to a group of 5 school, and they could have landed him if they wanted him, but they were just like they didn't think that he could probably play at tackle at this level, and he probably would have to shift into guard, and they would have probably still taken him if they really, really wanted to. But it's just so bad at offensive line. Like Gino Vandermark is going to be making tons and tons of dollars, and Gino's fine. Like he's not somebody that you would scoff at if your school picked him up, but he's probably making like 6 times more than he deserves right now, and good for him. But that is my way of trying to explain how horrible the offensive line market is. And for the most part, nobody really even entered that you would want to overpay for. Like you could be like, all right, it's not our money, spend it, go get somebody. But there's like this whole cycle. There were maybe 2 competent offensive tackles that entered. One of them, Andrew Chambly, walked away from football while he was at Arkansas and then came back, and now he's at SMU. And I'm sure there was a second guy. I just can't even think of one, but just said,
is it your boy Peyton Kirkland? Is it your favorite player? Peyton is that the other legitimate offensive tackle or no?
No. And I think the other needs that I would say beyond offensive tackle, which if you can get somebody, you got to get them somehow. But slot receiver, if there's somebody that they really like. Michigan State, when the portal window, before it was about to open, they kind of were thinking that it could be a need, but they've just been so impressed with Nick Marsh, and they think that they have about 5-6 guys that really like in that receiver room, which we can see it. We kind of detailed the receiver room back when Antonio Gates first entered the portal, and I know he's back now, but we were talking about he was probably wide receiver 7. So that's kind of the picture of how that looks. So they'll go and get somebody if they really, really think that they can help them, but they feel the need to go overboard to get Javarius, last name I'm forgetting, Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah, from Auburn, who ended up going to UCF, I believe. So
Yep.
So I think they're mostly good there. Running back 3, that's the place where I would look, just because right now the third running back is Brandon Toulis, and they're more than okay with they're very confident in him being running back 3 if they have to have him be that. But since you have 4 spots, maybe just give him 1 extra year before he has to be a kind of a feature back kind of guy after there's 1 injury, because I know Damian Martinez kind of shifted it a little bit for Michigan State, but for this staff when they're at Oregon State, but this staff likes to have a balanced 2 running back service system. So I expect them to have Carter and Lynch Adams kind of being mostly equal snaps. And then if one of them get hurt, suddenly Toulis is in that 2 back rotation. So I'd like to see 1 guy buffer right there, but I think they're very excited about Toulis and what he can do for the future. And running back's a place where you can play early. So
do running backs get hurt in East Lansing? Like, does that ever happen? Surely not last year. We ended the season on RB7. Yes. Harold Joyner taking snaps at Ford Field, right? That was all a mirage.
Yeah.
Correct?
I mean, I personally didn't see a single snap at Ford Field despite being over there in the press box. I was typing all the Jonathan Smith articles, but people did say that Joyner played in that game, and stunning, jaw-dropping. So yes, RB3, a possible slot receiver, somehow just take an offensive tackle to take 1. And then after that, I would say for the 4th spot, I would almost maybe reward whoever the best PWO was from the spring. And that kind of gives all the rest of the preferred walk-ons a testimonial of this staff means it when they say that you can earn a scholarship if you come here, and if you stay here and if you work hard. And I think that would do more for the culture than whatever 4th guy they try to take, who probably will not even see the field because they really don't have a spot for somebody to see the field other than offensive tackle. And I'm putting that person, that need already in the first 3 spots. So I think that's probably what I would do with the 4 spots as a whole.
I like that, going off the board for the last one. But yeah, that makes sense if no one's out there that you really love. And it's true that they only take guys that they absolutely love. Like, they're not taking people just to take people, kind of like I'm campaigning they do for offensive line.
They probably will for offensive line, but before that, I would say
fine. That's great. If there's one position to do it for, that's great. Especially with how the depth chart looks right now for Michigan State. Just take a body that's roughly, 6'4", 270 pounds. I won't get greedy. Nothing even crazy. So that's solid though. So 4-ish spots left.
Yeah.
We like it. Some good work by the staff. So
for sure.
You know what's crazy about this next thing we're going to talk about? Samaj Bridgeman, Bridgeman-Mangum, that whole thing. How was that not 3 or 4 weeks ago at this point? Yeah. How are we still within a week of all that happening? Because that seems like it happened forever ago. But man, no, it happened within the last week. And I gotta say, it seems like all the flames of the fire that were out on Friday have been doused. Everyone seems to be back at baseline. But man, what a fun Friday that was. Honest to God, that is what this rivalry needed, JT. Just nonsense bickering back and forth in the middle of the offseason. Oh, needed that back in our lives. Needed it. It was great.
It's very interesting to think about kind of who won the trade, because I think there's no question that today on May 22nd, 2024, Bridgeman-Mangum is probably the better player than Samaj Bridgeman is.
Yeah, but that's fair.
Right. But that is not at all how I think a lot of trades, even in pro sports, are valued. It's long-term potential, who has more time to contribute. In NBA terms, it would be who has the most team control, whereas here it'd be eligibility that the kid has. And in that case, Bridgeman has 3 years, Mangum has 2. And from what it sounds like, Mangum is going to be a depth piece at safety for Michigan this year. So then you'll be looking at 1 year for him as the starter after Rod Moore and some of these guys leave.
Gotcha.
Suddenly you have 1 year of Mangum, and Michigan State, I guess we'll see what they get out of Bridgeman this year. They don't have a need at linebacker this year. So kind of looking at 2 years for him, probably not 3 outside of maybe special teams this year. and it's still close. Then you kind of look at the 24/7 transfer rankings, and they have Smaj Bridgeman about 200 spots higher.
Right.
So then it kind of goes back to thinking, well, all right, if I think Smaj Bridgeman's a better get than Mangum for Michigan, at least there's this outlet that's agreeing with me, and they have it about a 200 spot difference, so you're not crazy. But I don't know. I think I can go either way. Matt. If you had to decide who won this trade, is it the team that got a starter from a 4-8 team that had an atrocious pass defense, or is it the team that got a linebacker that Michigan's elite player personnel department thought was worthy of taking just 13, 14 months ago, and he simply redshirted like he was going to all along? And that's the better get. So I don't know. I think I don't know.
Can I just be the world's lamest person and just say, like, can we answer it in like 3 or 4 years? Or
that's not allowed. You're not allowed to actually.
I was gonna say, we absolutely won the trade then. Like, there's no question. I think it's actually 4 years of eligibility for Bridgman.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Why did I?
We won this thing running away. Are you kidding me? And JT, he could play linebacker. He could play rush edge. Yes. Let's go. I just named 2 positions. Jaden Mangum, he'll only play safety. That's right. That's only 1 position as far as I'm concerned. But no, like, look, Michigan, like, they get a piece that they like and that they need. Michigan State, like, for the future of the room, of the linebacker room, like, that is a really nice pickup for Michigan State too. Kind of, right? I mean, they only had 2 linebackers commit from 2021 to 2023. One of them was Jordan Hall. We had a great time with him, right? Quavian Carter, not even with the program anymore. Like, there was a gap in linebacker recruiting. And yes, you got a really strong one in Brady Pretzloff in the last class. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But man, after Halliday, Turner, Matthews in 2 years leaves, like, we're looking around this linebacker and being like, hey, Brady, do you mind just cutting yourself in half and playing 2 different linebacker positions? Or, like,
as a redshirt freshman?
As a redshirt freshman. Like, no pressure at all, Brady over there. But, like, yeah, and, like, they've obviously also done it too with Marcellus Pulliam. They've gotten him a linebacker for Miami, but still, like, that was a need that Michigan State kind of had a glaring hole with last year. Yep. So I think both are fine. But hey, can I ask you a question?
No.
That I look, and I hate to do, I genuinely hate to do this, but, like, I do another show. That's right. During that show called Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week.
Check it out.
I was literally just in this closet here, just me and this fly that keeps flying around, just talking to ourselves. And I have to ask someone else this question. But the story goes, or the theory goes, and this is kind of backed up by the Mangum family member, is that, look, Jaron Mangum, whether he had a scholarship taken away like the family alleges, or it was telegraphed that, hey, you're going to be the 5th string running back, you're not going to play here a lot. Nevertheless, he leaves. He's not happy. Jaden sees this. He's also not happy. He rides with his brother. There's no shame in that. Okay, fine, whatever. Is it better to use 2 scholarships on instant impact or future needs, or would it be better to use 2 scholarships, one of which is on a 5th string running back, but just to keep your starting safety health or happy? Like, what's the better use of 2 scholarships? Like, that's the general managing question that Jonathan Smith has got, because I'm sure they could have done the whole son and dance. Like, no, Jaron, you're going to get some snaps this year. No, right? Yeah, please just be happy so your brother's happy and he plays safety for us next year. Or are you just better off letting those 2 walk right now and using the 2 scholarships elsewhere? I have an answer, but I want to hear yours.
Easily the first method of using them on a better kind of long-term option and letting the 2 guys walk, because you have to go back and kind of think about where Michigan State is on their rebuild, and that's the theme we keep talking about. Yep. If Michigan State was about to contend for the Big Ten title this year, and you're thinking, oh, well, shoot, we don't want to lose one of our 2 safeties right before the season, right before the portal window is going to close, so let's go ahead and keep him and let's make sure there's no uncertainty here. But, Matt, this entire team on both sides of the ball is nothing but uncertainty. Why not add one more move of uncertainty there, extend your eligibility with who you pick up by 3 additional years, and also out of the whole entire concept, show to your team that you will not kind of be a victim of negotiating in bad faith, and people won't be able to have leverage against you by entering the portal at the last minute. And the whole thing about Jaron being allegedly, like, pushed aside so that they can have Caron Lynch Adams come, that whole thing was pretty much always known by all the running backs in the team that they're going to add one more guy.
Yeah.
Now, I guess Brandon Tulis going ahead and leaping Mangum is something that might have been seen as surprising to him. But at the same time, he's now going to his 4th school in his college career. I don't know how he can blame Michigan State for not, I guess, stopping themselves from adding somebody else just so he can go ahead and be RB2, even if you don't even include Tulis being ahead of him and pushing him to RB3 in that case. So I don't see how they can have much hostility there. To my knowledge, no, they never told him that his scholarship is gone. They probably just indicated to him that they're going to be adding another running back, and as a result, he'd be down a spot. Right. And he was welcome to stay as far as I know. But the bigger thing of it is I had been hearing since, I want to say, 8 days before he entered the portal that Ohio State was in constant communication with Jaden Mangum. Now, he didn't end up going there, but that kind of shows that this was not just about Jaron and leaving because of any unsettlement there. And it's not just because Jaden was like, okay, well, they're pushing my brother aside, so let me call Ohio State and try to see if someone else is interested, because the Jaron kind of unsettlement seemed to happen in the final couple of days of the window, whereas the Jaden Ohio State contact was initiated well before that. So as far as my understanding, and if this is wrong, the third Mangum brother, Jalen, can go ahead and tweet a bunch of times.
He's actually commented about 2 minutes ago. So you're
even though this doesn't upload until the morning, that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, so that's kind of all I have to say about that situation. Is I think Michigan State easily made the right move. Good luck to Jaden for sure, but he was Michigan State's 3rd best safety in terms of production, and probably, I would say, also 3rd in terms of what he would have projected in the future behind Spencer and Dylan Tatum. And I don't think anybody would really disagree with. I'm sure Michigan fans now wouldn't like to hear that they just got MSU's 3rd safety, so they'll disagree. But pretty much anybody that watched them play, that's kind of how it looked to me.
I can't believe you threw a for sure in after that. Good luck. Good luck for sure. You're a much better person than I am. Like, hey, be healthy. Like, do not blow both your ACLs. Like, yes. I'm not saying that. Like, I'm not rooting for the kid to snap his Achilles clean in half, but like, I want him to struggle in health, just like I do every player that plays for Michigan. Like, I don't think that's, stepping out of bounds on that one. That's just being a rival fan. I always root for their downfall. Unfortunately, I didn't get a lot of it last year, but hey, hopefully we're due for some downfall this year.
Yeah, I think the for sure being added there was like overcompensating for the fact that I wasn't actually like really steadfast in saying that sentence.
You were trying to convince yourself that you were a good person. I see you. I get it. Yeah, I try to talk myself into being a good person all the time, but sometimes it's not there. Sometimes it's not there.
Yeah. Speaking of something that's not there, Matt, one of Michigan State's basketball coaches.
It's fine. It's fine. Just 2 assistants is all we need. That's fine. It's okay. Yeah.
However, it sounds like it should not be longer than another week or so before the assistant is named. Now, today, if people are on Twitter, they saw that former Michigan State point guard Lou Rawls, Tum Nairn Jr. Was named the associate head coach at Bowling Green State.
Hey, nice.
He is always going to be a candidate for Michigan State in the near future. Anytime there's a vacancy, anytime that there's an assistant, we're probably going to see Tum get interviewed, and maybe he'll get it one day too. But he was, to my understanding, one of the 3 finalists for the job. They had a wider net than that before too, but seems like Sadi Washington and Chris Fowler from Western Michigan are a couple other names that they're looking at. I think Michigan State has a good idea of which way they're going to go. I do know that they haven't formally extended an offer to anyone as of the early morning of Wednesday. So I guess maybe throughout the day today. And by the time you guys hear this, it'll be Thursday. I guess it could have changed, but no offer extended as of early Wednesday. But I do think that they'll have somebody in place in about the next week or so.
Fascinating. Yeah. That's like, and now I feel bad, like saying like which way I lean, because I'd hate to be on the wrong side of the coin here. And I just, fluffed up one guy. And the other guy.
We'll have lots of time to discuss the hire, I guess, once it's made.
I'm going to wait till the hire's made.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait till the hire's made. Yeah. And like, look, it's not like I think just one guy's like awful and the other guy's like so much better, but
yeah. 2 completely different skill sets being brought to the table. Sadi in his I guess more mature years these days is more of a talent developer.
Yeah.
Especially in like the days of NIL, like you don't have to go ahead and be an elephant hunter these days. It's you show him your track record. He's very personable. Kids really like. He probably would be the best recruiter on MSU staff. So I shouldn't make it seem like he's not an ace recruiter.
Definitely.
But I think Chris Fowler is like much closer to these kids' age.
Okay.
He's more probably going to be that youngest, kind of like a Thomas Kelly, who's gotten rave reviews on the staff. So in his scenario, you'd have just a ton of young guys just on the staff. Borovich, he's also going to be the director of recruiting still, and then you have Thomas Kelly, and then Doug Wojcik would still be there as the experienced guy too. So I think that would be an interesting blend of the staff, but I think also at the same time, Sadi's resume speaks for itself. So you're either going to get the proven, stable, well-respected guy, or you're going to get the guy that is very energetic and could become one of the biggest rising stars in the coaching world. So we'll see who they choose.
Two good choices. Yeah. And look, I'll just say, like, I'm leaning Washington if I was the one making the call right here, but just because, and this is probably not even a good reason, it's just something different. Like, it's just something outside of the program. Like, Chris Fowler has connections to Michigan State. I mean, Washington, like, he's been in Power 6 basketball for as long as I can remember. And, like, I don't think that he would step in and just overtake the whole thing and reverse everything that Izzo does. Like, obviously, he can only do so much, but still, like, it is a different perspective and a different background that a lot of these guys have. And, like, I don't know, man, after the last few years, I could use any sizzle on this steak that I got right now. So, and again, it's not to say that Fowler would be a bad pick. I would sing his praises too, but that's where I'm at right now.
For sure. I agree with that. And then Sadi also coached Mo Wagner at Michigan, even though most of his coaching has been with wings, but he can coach bigs, and Mo is one of the examples for that. And I don't know if he were to be hired. I don't know if the plan would be to move him to wings and move Wojcik, or move him to bigs and then move Wojcik to somewhere else, or if they just keep Wojcik with the bigs. But gives you at least the optionality and versatility, and those guys can all get together and decide what they are most passionate about, and they can go from there if he's the hire. So a lot of interesting intrigue there, and I think for me personally, I think the process has been good. I know it's been slow, but there's no Tom Crean mentions or somebody like Brian Gregory, who obviously was at Michigan State in the early days of the run, and then I think he most recently coached in South Florida. So very qualified guys, and for sure. But it seems like Izzo forced himself to either consider the middle-aged but like very, very respected, close to the state of Michigan geography, with first his time at Oakland and Sadi's time at Oakland, then his time at Michigan, and even his time as a player at Lansing Sexton before that. So like you kind of have to consider him. But then other than that, it's like the young guys like Tum Tum and Chris Fowler, and I know a fourth candidate too from the Midwest, younger guy too. So the way that the process will handle who they targeted, that I think no complaints from me. Plus, we know at the end of the day, Izzo's not going to go target the associate head coach at like Texas or something like that. Like
Jai Alexander's not getting that phone call. Yeah, right. No.
Yeah. But so at the end of the day,
Alexander, right? Yeah.
I think you're talking about Jay Lucas.
Lucas, dang it, I knew it. Yeah, I was like, no, wait, this Lucas.
Where is he at these days? Because he spent time at Kentucky, then he spent time at Illinois, and then he spent time at Duke.
You're right, the Brotherhood. I think he's at Duke, as far as I know.
Texas as well in the past, Yeah,
but not Michigan State next year. You mentioned Tom Crean. Tom Crean will always hold a special place in my heart because I saw him at like this AAU event. This is when I was in high school.
Oh, okay.
He's like, "Hey, coach, can I get a picture?" He's like, "Yeah, sure can." Wait, hold on. You're not a recruit, are you? I'm like, like me, like 5'8", 135 pounds. Like, yeah, I'm a 4-star power forward, man. Like, I'm like, that was so nice, Tom. I mean, to ask, like, holy shit, that was like so wholesome. So, yeah, got a nice picture with him, and his career went downhill ever since that picture was taken. But nevertheless, I'm sure that had nothing to do with it, my presence. But nevertheless, awesome. Tom Crean, great guy. Yeah, it was awesome.
Tom Crean, famous for finding and developing Anthony Edwards.
That same event, Tom Izzo was there too. So this is down in Orlando at the Wide World of Sports. It was like this big, the Harrison brothers were playing. Like it was popping down there. Tom Izzo was there too. Me and my brother, we see him. I have never in my entire life seen a man walk faster in my entire life. Like, he didn't want to like stick around, do any autographs, pictures. And like, what? He's a very busy guy. I'm not knocking him for that. I just couldn't believe that a man with the stature of Tom Izzo was taking the strides of a man that was like 7'1" to the parking lot. Like me and my brother were like jogging just to catch up to him, being like, "Hey, no pictures, autograph. Like we just want to let you know that we are a huge fan of you. Thanks for everything you do for Michigan State." And he was like, "Oh, thanks a lot." So he was very cool.
Yeah.
But my God, he has the like famous person, no one bother me walk down pat. Like
that's very awesome to hear, because you never see that at like university events. Whereas, he was we saw him walking from the green and white basketball scrimmage the day of the Michigan game, the Michigan football game, and he was walking from the from like his office like just to his golf cart, which was parked like, I don't know, like 45 feet from his door. Yeah. And he stopped and talked to everybody that was walking towards the football stadium there.
Yeah.
And he got on the golf cart, and then he came to kind of like the photo op, the free tailgate that SD Farrell had set up. And he was supposed to be there for like 20 minutes. He was there probably for like 45.
Gotcha.
And they were trying to get him to like get on the golf cart and take him, and he'd like shake one more hand, have one more conversation. And he's completely, totally different from like the walking way fast kind of Izzo when he's at the Izzo camp out too. As there, you'll know, like he can stay for like 2 hours and leave if he wants to. Yes. I was trying to sneak out, Matt, at 6 a.m. on my first camp out when it was like 38 degrees.
Yeah.
And I was like poking my head out the tent at like 6 a.m. I got like 3 hours of sleep. I'm like talking to my players. I'm like, should we leave? And then Izzo's just pacing back and forth. Like nobody's even bothering or talking to him. And then I'm like, all right, well, if he's here and he's like 68,
you ain't leaving
because of the cold.
Right.
And so that's like the only time I've heard of a story like that. So that's very fascinating.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I believe you. Like, he is the best at, like, glad-handing people and, like, being in front of people. But, yeah, he did an interview with Andy Katz, and he was like, all right, like, I don't know if he had to get to another event or if he wanted to go to Epcot or where he was going. He's like, I'm out of here. I want to go. But, yeah, like, he was just, like, an awesome person even when we did catch up to him, even though he made it abundantly clear he doesn't want to talk to people. But what was I going to do? Just let Tom Izzo walk away without saying, hey, what's up? But, like, look, say what you will about the last few seasons. Like, I haven't had the most fun watching it, but man, like, if not for nothing else, like, Tom Izzo like, just is truly the best guy to have as an ambassador of this university. No, like, I love that guy. He is the best, just the best.
I've told Izzo this, but when I chose Michigan State over the other options, it wasn't because of where the engineering program was ranked. Even though I will say the year that I enrolled, they were 2 spots ahead of Cornell. They were 38th in the nation in engineering.
Excuse me.
So, but no, it was because of 2 reasons. It's because of Izzo and it's because of D'Antonio. And I was going to go to a place where there was going to be big time high level sports, because you can get a good education a lot of places. You can get a good education at Oakland. You can get a good education at Wayne State. A lot of people from my high school went to both. You can go a lot of places, even out of state, but I had to go to a place that had 2 sports in the athletic department that were at the level that they were at. Obviously, things have changed with football since then, but that is not an exaggeration when I say that was what my thought process was based on.
I love that. That's what I'm talking about, man.
And is that it, Matt?
I think so. Hope everyone has a great Memorial Day weekend coming up.
Yeah. I will be taking advantage of my day off by sleeping in to 10:30.
Oh God. I used to live like that. And now I'm just an old washed up.
Until I started working out with my buddy that I work out with now, I used to be able to sleep in until like 11 on Saturday and Sunday. And this guy wants to go at like 9.
No.
So what happens when you wake up at like 8:20 on Saturday and Sunday, and then also have to wake up early for work, is suddenly you forget that you can sleep in until like 11. It just feels weird. But now, for the first time in the longest time, I'm going to try to do that and see what that's like.
Look at you thrive. You're having the best long weekend of all of us.
The best way to do it is during college football season. You don't want to wait for your team to play at noon.
Whoa.
You just stay up until 3 a.m. and then you wake up at like 11:45 a.m. Like that is the way to do sleeping in correctly. Wow. And we'll see. I'll have to convince them that we work out a little later on Saturday. So
life hacks with JT. Just go to bed at 3 a.m. on college football Saturdays. I like
absolutely
that.
Right. That is the way that it's done.
That's
But
what I'm talking about.
with that, appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe for the algorithm, and we will see you next week.